Yes, hello pupils of P3, you're most welcome to yet another lesson in Literacy 1. This is Teacher Paul taking you through this lesson. In the previous lesson, I left you with an activity. So at this time, I want us to have personal correction before we can continue with our new lesson. The first question was reading that give the meaning of the term environment. So what's the response? We just do right here. We say environment. We say environment. Environment is a place and its surrounding. The place and its surrounding. I hope you got that answer right. Environment is a place and its surrounding. But I had my friend of mine who told me, "No, teacher, isn't that one too long?" You can give it in this way also. You can say environment are things that surround us. These are things that surround us. As simple as that. Environment are things that surround us. So as you can see, there are things, if you can look where you are right now, there are very many things that are around you. So that place and the things that are around you is what you are terming as what? Environment. And question number 2 says, what name is given to the changes in the environment that are not brought by people? Number 2, we call that what? Natural changes. We call it natural changes. Natural changes. These are changes that happen without the influence of people in the environment. Number 3, mention 3 natural changes in the environment. Number 3, here we shall talk about floods. There are very many. We should talk about floods, talk about drought, talk about landslides, talk about earthquakes, So there are very many, but the question was asking us to give what? 3. Number 4, where do these natural changes take place? Where do you think these natural changes take place? A, they're asking us about floods. Floods take place in flat, can talk about flat areas, or sometimes they take place in what? Valleys. And we say these are very dangerous in that they lead to death of people. Whenever they occur, they lead to death of people in that area. Then B, talk about landslides. Landslides take place in hilly areas. They talk about in hilly areas. But these areas can also call them what? Mountainous areas. Mountainous areas. So class, that was our correction for that previous work. In case of comment or maybe addition, I'll give you my number, you call me and I raise your comment or complaint. So at this time round, I want us to continue with these changes in the environment. Remember, we said that changes are things which happen, or changes are things which which occur or turn from one form to another. We call those ones what? Changes. Like wherever we are in our environment, you find that there are things that happen, that occur, and you wonder as to how they have what? Occurred. So those are the things we are calling what? Changes. And here, as we talk about the natural changes and man-made, or we can call them artificial changes in the environment. So briefly, if we can go through the natural changes, we said we have floods, we said we have landslides, we said we have earthquakes, we said we have germination in plants, we said we have what? Lightning, we said we have storms. Also, all those are the natural changes that take place in the environment. And so, under here we talked about floods and we talked about drought. So, let me hope you understand now what floods are. We said floods means when water increase in an area where it used not to be. This can be because of too much rainfall in that area. Two, we say that drought is caused by factors like deforestation. Factors like deforestation, swamp drainage. We find that when these things are destroyed, all trees are destroyed, swamps are destroyed, we say we can have drought in the area. And we say drought leads to famine, drought leads to drying up of farmers' crops. So those are the dangers of these two natural changes that we talked about. So today I want us to look at changes which occur in plants. Let's talk about changes in plants. Like I've said, a change is when something turns from one form into another. And therefore, we say changes in plants here, still under natural changes. We shall have the first one as germination. Plants undergo germination. What do you mean by germination? Germination is the growing of a seed embryo into a seedling. Or we can say this is the growing of a seed into a seedling. Remember, in science, talk about seeds and seedlings. Seedlings are the younger plants, the plants that have just started growing. Call them what? Seedlings. So we shall define germination as. Okay, before we define that, let's first list them down. Another one we have here is what? Transpiration. Transpiration. Transpiration is also another change. Another one we have here is pollination. Pollination. Another one we have here is plant growth. Planting growth. So we said germination is a growing of a seed into a seedling. So that is what term as what? Germination. Let me put it down here so that I can get its meaning. Germination is the growing of a seed into a seedling. The growing of a seed into a seedling. You understand what a seed is, and you understand what a seedling is. Like I've said, a seed is that a fruit. We can say fruit of a plant that is hard, or that can again be planted and grows into the previous form. So therefore, we say plants undergo what we term as what? Germination. And germination is the growing of a seed into a seedling. You learned this in what? In science. B. What do you mean by transpiration? Transpiration. What's transpiration? You sweat, isn't it? So also plants undergo sweating, I can say, to put it in a simple language. Plants as well undergo sweating. And this sweating here, we don't call it sweating like you do in human beings. This sweating here is instead termed as what? Transpiration. So when you sweat, you lose water, isn't it? So similarly, when plants also sweat, they lose water. And this process is called what? Transpiration. And how do we define the transpiration, my dear children? We say transpiration is the process by which plants lose water to the atmosphere. The process by which plants lose water to the atmosphere. Sometimes this water is excess, but sometimes it's due to drought. So plants do lose water in the form of what? Water vapor. And so we call this process what? Transpiration. Transpiration is the, let me use black. The process by which plants lose water to the atmosphere is what you are terming as what? Transpiration. So another term here that you need to know is pollination. What do you mean by pollination? Pollination also occurs in plants, just like germination. Also plants need to they need certain ways or conditions in order for them to grow well and bear either fruits or the seeds. So this process is also very common in plants. And what does it mean? It occurs by agents, for example, insects, or it happens by insects, it happens by wind, and sometimes it happens by what? By people. And so this process is called the transfer of pollen grains from the anther heads to the stigma of a flower. So these insects, we have birds do carry out this process here. They go on collecting nectar, and in the process they carry what we term as what? Pollen grains. These pollen grains are transferred to the stigma, and so this process, that's why we refer this process as what? Pollination. Then lastly, plant growth is self-explanatory. A plant transforms from a seedling into a mature plant. So this is what term as what? Plant growth. So let me hope you've understood these changes which take place in plants. Let's talk about more changes. These changes here we're going to talk about are the changes that take place in what? In the sky. Can you think with me? What do you think are these changes which take place in the sky? Yes? One is rain formation. Rain formation. Rain is formed and involves changes before it is what? Formed. Second one is changes in weather. This one is self-explanatory. Sometimes the weather changes from nowhere. It has been shining, and after some few hours we find that it starts what? Raining. Those are what? Changes. We talk about another change is raising and setting of the sun. Raising and setting of the sun. Sometimes we find that we say that the sun has moved from the east to the west. But is it true that the sun moves? No, the sun doesn't move, but it's just a change. And we say this is the rotation of the earth. You find that we rotate, keep on rotating. You know, the earth is circular in shape. It is circular. So we keep on rotating. It's in one position. The sun is just in one position. But we keep the earth. It's only the earth which keeps on what? Which keeps on what? Rotating. And the moment you rotate, or we give a shadow, or we shadow the what? We get away from the sun, so it forms the shadow. That's why we experience day and the night. And so we say the sun sets from the sun rises from the east, then sets in the west. So also that is a natural change. Man cannot have or cannot influence that change. Another one here is change in the shape of the moon. This is understandable with our brothers and sisters who are Muslims. Why do you think sometimes the moon appears a half? Then by the end of the month you find it's a full moon. So these are also natural changes. They are not influenced by people at all. They happen on their own. So let me hope you've understood that as well. We say changes in the sky will include formation of rainfall. Rainfall undergoes very many changes in order for it to be formed. All together. The first one can be transpiration. Another one is condensation. Then another one, of course, will be forming of clouds, and the clouds will result into raindrops. And so those are the natural change in the sky. So I want us to go through the changes in weather. We say weather changes, and therefore weather has got what term as what? Elements. And what are these elements? Rain or rainfall is one of them. 2, sunshine. We have clouds or cloudy cover. We have wind. We have what? We have temperature. All these are the elements of what? Elements of weather. And elements of weather forms what term as what? Weather conditions. Like I've said, it can be shining right now, but after some hours we shall see rainfall being formed. So those are the changes in that way. So at this time I want us to have a look at changes that take place in animals. So I hope you finish this. I want to remove them. I want to remove this such that you can add on more here. So these changes in the sky will include 1 or A, we say rain formation. Rain formation is one change. Another change here we talked about is change in weather conditions. Change in weather conditions. See, we say change in the moon shape. And then we shall talk about rising and setting of the moon. Rising and setting of the moon. Good. So those are the changes in the sky. How about changes in animals? Changes in animals. Changes in animals. What do you think are the changes that take place in what? In animals. The first change here is reproduction. Reproduction. Another change is growth. Animals grow. Another change here is death. Another change here is, we can talk about movement. Movement. So these are the examples of changes that take place in what? In animals. You have also molting. So reproduction is the change whereby mature animals produce young ones. So we call this reproduction is the giving birth to young ones in animals. So we call this reproduction. The word is reproduction. Reproduction is the giving birth in what? In animals. How about growth? Growth means changing from a young form or from a young form into a mature form. Like you and me, we keep on growing every day. The moment you add on years or keep on each year which goes, you keep on growing. You were once a baby, you started crawling, you started walking, you started running. Now you are now a very big boy or girl. So we call that what? Growth. Death. Death is a point whereby, a stage whereby one loses breath and you cannot come back to life again. How about movement? Movement means taking steps from one point to another. You move from your home to school. You move from home to from home maybe to the market. We call that what? Movement. And so all these are natural changes which take place in what? In animals. So let's talk about the effects of natural changes. What do you think are the effects of natural changes in the environment? Sometimes, like the first change that you talked about, like floods, drought, what, all those are dangerous in the environment. For example, let's talk about drought itself. We said drought leads to death of people. Drought leads to displacement of people. Drought leads to destruction of property. So when these changes occur, they really cause issues. Similar to floods, when floods occur, people die in the area. And under drought, we say people die because they lack food. So famine occurs, so people die as a result of too much what? Sunshine in the area. Um, Floods lead also to destruction of property as well. Are you aware that when floods or water from nowhere all of a sudden covers the area, people die in that area, property will be destroyed? For example, houses will break down. Are you aware of that? Yeah, take an example in case you've been on the television. You've seen people who are living around the shores of Lake Victoria. Many of their property have been what? Destroyed. Because the water have initially moved from where it was and has extended into people's houses. And so sometimes people die in the process, and in the due course also property is what? Destroyed. So those are the dangers of these changes in the environment. So let's write them down. Let me hope you picked this now. Alright, let me remove this, then you go to another thing. Effects of changes. It's the effects of changes in the environment. Effects means the bad thing, or the bad or the good things that come with it, these changes. But for this matter, we are going to look at the bad changes. Here we say drought. Okay? We say drought. Remember, drought is a long period of sunshine in an area. Drought leads to hunger. Drought leads to hunger. And hunger is what we are terming as what? Famine. There will be no food in an area where there is a drought. 2, we say floods lead to death of people. Floods lead to death of people. 3, we say they lead to destruction. Destruction of property. So in case this word is very hard, we say we can put it in a simple way. We say property is destroyed. Property is what? Destroyed due to these natural changes in the environment. Another one is it leads to migration. They lead to migration. They lead to migration. For example, right now, like I've said, on the shores of Lake Victoria, people are migrating. They are moving away from these areas which have been affected by what? By floods. So class, these are the effects of the changes that are in the environment. And so I want us to look at how can you manage these changes. How do you manage these changes in the environment? How to manage changes in the environment. Children, can you think with me? What do you think we should do to manage the changes in the environment? One way is by planting trees. By planting what? Trees. So when you plant trees in an area, you'll be managing changes. You'll be managing what? Changes. By planting trees. By planting trees. When you plant trees in an area, you'll be controlling 1, soil erosion. 2, you'll be controlling floods in that area. 3, you'll also be controlling drought because trees help in rain formation. So when you plant more trees, then this will aid in the rainy cycle. So therefore, planting of trees is one way of managing changes in the environment. Another way is by protecting swamps. Swamps are very important as well. They help in rain formation. Swamps also are the ones which control actually the floods which go into people's houses. But sometimes because people build in those places, so they destroy the area where this water can settle. And as a result, the water will go in people's houses or will find other ways of settling. And so therefore it will go in people's houses. Another one here is by not burning bushes. By not burning bushes. When you don't burn bushes, then the vegetation in that area also contribute to rainy formation. So that's also another of managing managing our changes in the environment. Another one by farmers is say farmers should use good methods of farming. Can you think about the good methods of farming that farmers can use in order to manage the changes in the environment? One of them is mulching. We talk about mulching in science. Oh yeah, we said this is the covering of soil with dry planting material. Can be grass, can be husks, can be what? Mention it. Also another one is by another change is by terracing land. Terracing is a method of cultivation whereby you dig terraces across a mountain or a hilly area, such that you control the rate of flowing water. So that's another way. Another one here is can talk about irrigation farming. Irrigation it means the watering of plants. In case there's too much drought, what do? Carry out irrigation, water the plants so they can grow and we have food. So those are the ways you can manage changes. B, we say B is by, we say our B here is by not destroying or by protecting. Sorry. By protecting swamps. Or you can call them what? Wetlands. And C, we say by not carrying out bush burning. By not carrying out bush burning. So if you do this, I'll give you 3. You can think of more. We say if you do this, then we shall be managing changes. Some of the changes in the environment, and these changes that you can manage are floods, droughts, landslides, soil erosion. So class, that has been our lesson for today. But before we end it, I'd like us to have a simple activity to check on what you've learned. The activity for now, I will say the first question is, what causes floods? What causes floods? Number 2, give any 2 dangers of floods. Number 3, mention any 2 changes that take place in the sky. Number 4, write down 2 changes that take place in plants. Then number 5 is state any 2 effects of natural changes. So there are 5 numbers. I want you to sit and do it with a lot of interest and love, such that we follow what we've been learning in our lesson. Thank you for being so attentive. I wish you well. Remember to always keep safe, keep a social distance, always wash your hands or sanitize them whenever. So I wish you a nice moment. See you.